Hello guys, and welcome to the first episode of season 3. In this episode I'm gonna teach you how to design your character in Moho, and in the first part of this tutorial I'm gonna teach you all the tools, shortcuts, methods and techniques you need to know to design your favorite character. In the second part of this tutorial, as an example, I teach you how to design the character of Mabel of the animated series Gravityfalls, so you can learn the design process in a practical way. In the third part, I teach you how to apply shadows to your project and how to change the angle of them with one single click. In the next part, I show you how I designed Deeper from the animated series Gravityfalls. I'm gonna go through every layers of that project and talk about the tools that I used. And in the last part, I show you how you can apply simple and complex gradient effect on your shapes. By the end of this video, you will be able to create your character with your favorite style. So let's not waste time and get right into it. When it comes to design a character, learning shortcuts and using them should be your priority because it can save you a lot of time. In Moho, there are 3 ways to learn shortcuts. The first one is that you can find the shortcut of the tools by holding your mouse on them. Then you can see their shortcut in a rectangle. We call it tooltip. And if you want to find the shortcuts of the options, they've been written for you at the right side of the option in drop-down menu. And if you want to learn the important shortcuts of the tools, you can find them at this bar at the bottom of the screen. This bar teaches you the shortcuts that you can use while working with the selected tool. If you select another tool, it will show you the shortcuts that you can use when that tool is selected. In Moho, you don't need to memorize all of the shortcuts. Here I'm going to teach you the important ones that you might find them useful when drawing your character. The first one is S, so if you hit the S key, you can select the Draw Shape tool. Using this tool, you can draw new shapes like circle and rectangle. Also, by holding down the Alt, you can draw your shapes from the center, and by holding down the Shift, you can draw a perfect square or a perfect circle. Next, you can hit the T key to select Transform Points tool. If you click somewhere inside a shape, you can select all of the points of that shape. If you hold down Control, you can select the points, and using Control and Shift, you can add to your selection. And using Control and Alt, you can subtract from your selection. To select all of the points, you can hit Control A. Also using Transform Points tool, you can move the selected points, rotate them around the anchor point. You can also move your anchor point to rotate the selected points around it, and you can scale the selected points if you have selected more than one point. Also, you can use Alt to scale everything from the anchor point, and by holding down the Shift you can move them horizontally or vertically. Using Alt also gives you the ability to move everything symmetrically. To deselect your points, you hold down the Control and click on somewhere outside of your shapes, and you can show the handles of all of the points using this option. And when you show them, you can move them. And also you should know that you'll only be able to see the handles if one or no point is selected. When you see the handles, using Transform Points tool, you can move both handles of a point by moving one of them, and by holding down the Alt and dragging on one handle, you can move it individually. And this option is going to keep the handles of other points while you're moving a point. See? The handles of the points that are next to it won't move. Next, you can hit the A key to choose Add Point tool. Using this tool, you can add sharp points to your path when this option is checked, or curve points when this option is not checked. Also, if you close a path, it will create a shape. Your path can be closed if you check this option, Auto Weld. And if you check Auto Stroke, you can create stroke after closing a path, or you can check Autofill to create fill after closing a path, or you can check both. Then we have Curvature tool, and the shortcut is C. Again, if you hold down the Control, you can select the points, and using Control and Shift, you can add to your selection, and using Control and Alt, you can subtract from your selection. And if one or no points is selected, you can see the handles, and by dragging on them, you can change the angle of them. And by holding down the Alt and dragging on one handle, you can move that handle individually. If multiple points are selected, by dragging to the left, you can make them sharp, and dragging to the right will make them smooth. And if only one point is selected, to make it curve or sharp, you should drag on that point. This option automatically makes the selected points sharp, and this one automatically makes them smooth. Next we have Q. If you hit Q, you can choose Select Shape tool. Using this one, you can change the colors of the fill or stroke of your selected shapes, remove the fill or stroke, and change the width of the strokes of the selected shapes, or add shadows to them, or any other effect. To select a shape, you can click on it. To add to your selection, you use Shift, and to subtract from your selection, you use Shift and Alt. To select all of them, you click on this option. Also, you can use this tool to change the order of the shapes. If you select a shape that is at the back of another one and hit up arrow key, you can send it forward, or using down arrow key, you can send it backward. And if you have multiple shapes, to send your shapes to the back of all of them, you use this option, and to send it to the front of all of them, you use this option. By hitting U key, you can choose Create Shape tool. To use it, first you hold down the Control and select a closed path or a series of points, and then check Fill if you want to have fill, or Stroke if you want to have a stroke, or both if you want to create both, and then click on Create Shape. If you hit W, you can choose Line Width tool. Using it, there is a brush that you can change the size of it by holding down the Alt and dragging to the left to make it smaller, or to right to make it bigger. Then if you drag on somewhere to the right, the strokes of the points that are inside your brush will be increased. And if you drag to the left, you can decrease the width of them. This tool has more effect on the points that are closer to the center of the brush. By hitting H, you can choose Hide Edge tool. Using this tool, you can just click between every 2 points to hide the stroke between those 2 points. To show them again, you just click between them again. In this tutorial, I'm not going to talk about Select Points tool that much, because we can select points when Transform Points tool or Curvature tool is selected. When Transform Points tool or Curvature tool is selected, if you want to select your points with a rectangle, you should go to Select Points tool and uncheck Lasso mode. Then when you go back to Transform Points tool or Curvature tool, using Control, you can select with a rectangle. If you want to draw to select points, go back to Select Points tool, check Lasso mode, and then select Transform Points tool or Curvature tool, and hold down the Control and draw to select points. Although I told you not to use Select Points tool to select your points, it's good to know some of its features, because it helps you to learn how to draw symmetrical shapes. If you want to add a point in the middle of selected points, you can use Split. Also, you can use it to add points symmetrically, and you can use Transform Points tool to move them at the same time, and Alt key to change the scale of them symmetrically. And then you can use Curvature tool, so you can change the curvature of the selected points symmetrically. The only feature that Moho is not capable of is to change the angle of the handles and the position and scale of them symmetrically. To zoom in, you scroll up, and to zoom out, you scroll down, and to pan, you hold down the right click and drag. Note that your shortcuts only work when the language of your system is English. Now that you've learned all important shortcuts for drawing a character, it's time to learn all methods of drawing a shape. First, I have to tell you that if you use Pen Tablet and you want to use it to create your character, then to create shapes, you should use Blob Brush, and to draw strokes only, I mean lines, you use Freehand tool. But we are not going to focus on these two in this video. If you want to learn more about them, I already have a video about it. You can just go and watch it. The next method is to use Draw Shape tool. This is my favorite one. First, you start with a shape like rectangle or circle. If your reference has sharp points, it's better to start with a rectangle. And if most of the points of your reference are curved, it's better to start with a circle. If you're not sure, just start with one of them, and then you move the points using Transform Points tool to put them in the correct position, and add some new points using Add Point tool, and use Curvature tool to change curvature of them to create the shape that you want. The next method is to use Add Point tool. You can just try to draw your shape by putting some points where you need to have point, and then close the path while Auto Weld option is checked. The next method is to use Create Shape tool. The professional users usually use this tool to create holes and lines. To create holes, first using other methods, you draw a closed path and draw another closed path inside of it without using autofill or autostroke. And then when create shape tool is selected, you hit Ctrl A and click on create shape. To create lines, you create a path that is not closed using other methods, and then hit the U key to choose create shape tool, and then hold down the control and select its points, and then click on create shape. One important thing is that all of the shapes will be created based on the settings that you see in the style window. So you may want to change them before you start creating your shapes using any of the methods that I taught you. Now let's talk about how to copy and paste the shapes inside and between layers. After you draw your shape, you can copy them by selecting the points of them and hitting Ctrl C, and then you can paste them using Ctrl V and move them wherever you want. You can also copy your shape, go to other layers and hit Ctrl V to paste your shapes into the selected layer. To mirror a shape or flip it, you can use these two options at the top. They will flip the selected points horizontally or vertically. And now it's time to talk about the mask. You might have heard of the word mask or masking. Sometimes you have a shape that different parts of it have different colors. In that case, first in a layer, draw a shape that covers all of your reference with the color that is at the back of all of them. Then you right click on that layer and choose group with selection. Then you right click on that group and choose mask inside bottom layer. Next, you choose the first layer and create a new layer. So the new layer will be at the top of it. And then you can draw the rest of the colors and some other shapes inside the layers on top of your first layer. The shapes that you draw inside the layers at the top of your first layer will be forced to be drawn inside the shapes of the first layer. And if you want to keep the strokes of the first layer around the other layers of your group, you just double click on your first layer and go to Masking tab and check Exclude Strokes. And then click on OK. It will keep the strokes of the shapes of the first layer around the shapes of other layers. You can even use images for your mask by going to here and choose image, and then select your image and choose open, and put your image on top of your first layer. Now let's talk about busy situations. If you have a lot of points and you want to work on them, and it will be easier for you to work if you could hide some of them, just simply select annoying ones and go to draw and choose hide selected points. And note that this will not hide your shapes and it only hides the points of them. So after hiding them, your mouse won't have any effect on them. To show them again, you go to draw and choose show all points. To hide a shape, you select the shape that you want using select shape tool, and then you go to draw and choose hide shape. This will only hide the shapes and not their paths. To show them again, you go to draw and choose show all shapes. Note that if you hide a shape, it will still be visible in your render. So hiding shapes or points has nothing to do with your render. Now let's talk about the rules of drawing a character. First, I'm going to talk about the things that you should do. First, do not let your shapes have a lot of points. Keep the number of points as less as possible. Less points means less time spending on moving points and less time spending on rigging and animating and less time spending on fixing problems of animating and rigging. Second, when drawing a character, we need to put a point when the direction of a line is changing. This is where we actually should put a point. Putting point in other places usually is unnecessary. Third, put a point where you want to bend something, and it's better to make that point curve to prevent it from breaking when you bend it. And the next rule is draw something like half of a circle where two separated parts of a body have to be connected. To create that, you can use any tool that you want, and we draw it for different parts of the body, like when you want to connect neck to head, or the arms to the body, or the leg to the body. It helps to avoid problems when you're rotating the shapes. And the last rule is, imagine the parts of your shape that are at the back of your shape and draw them as the parts of your shape. Do not ignore it, because when you want to animate the front shapes, you need to have something at the back of them to show to your audience. And now let's talk about what you shouldn't do. Do not use layer transform tool while designing your character to scale, rotate, or move your shapes, because after that, if you copy your shapes into another layer with different layer parameters, the shape of them will be changed. And before we draw our character, let's talk about what we need to prepare for it. As a character designer, you need some references to draw your character from. Sometimes you need to put your references next to your workspace and try to create a new one based on them, as we did in Donut example in episode 15 of season 2. Or sometimes you have a sketch done by yourself or someone else, or you have a photo from your favorite character and you want to just draw a character exactly like it. We want to do this today. The references that you choose to draw from can be a T-pose reference, which is hands and body look like the letter T together, or they can be an A-pose reference, which is hands and body look like the letter A together. In T-pose, arms are aligned with horizontal line, so after drawing it, when you want to rig it, you know you should draw the bones of the arms horizontally. But the problem with the T-pose is that it's far from natural poses of a human. I mean naturally, in many animations such as walking, talking, sitting, and jumping, you won't hold your arms like this. Therefore, to start animating your character, you should move the bones a lot to put all of the points in your favorite position. And moving points a lot could deform your character. On the other hand, we have A pose, which is much closer to natural poses of a human. So most of the times, your character will be deformed less than T-pose, but since the arms of it are not horizontal or vertical, it will be hard to find the best angle to put the bones. So you may need more bone adjustment in animating process, even after you completely finish your rig for the first time. Also, when it comes to choosing a reference to draw, it's important to choose the one with the best view. You can draw your characters from different views: front view, back view, top view, bottom view, side or profile view, and three-quarter view. To search for your favorite view to design your character, you can type the name of your character plus the view that you're looking for plus view. If you want to find a picture of your character from all of the views, you can type the name of your character plus model sheet, and it will bring the photos that contain all of the views of your character. And the last thing that you should know is that if you want to make a head turn animation later, it's better to start from front view. Alright, now that you know how to find the best reference for your character, it's time to draw it. Okay, to draw your character, first you have to go to new layer and choose image. From here you choose your reference and import it into your project by clicking on open. Let me change its size a little bit and make it bigger. To draw this character, you have to decrease the opacity of your reference. So I'm gonna double click on the layer and click on here, opacity, and type something like 50 and then press enter. Then I click on here on my vector layer and then hit the S key to select the draw shape tool, and then I can draw my shapes. But as you can see, when I'm dragging, the opacity of my image goes back to 100%. Let me release the click. To avoid this problem, you can click on here and check GPU acceleration. Now when I'm dragging, the opacity of my reference is not changing. So we fixed the problem. Let me hit Ctrl Z twice to remove these two rectangles and choose circle and draw a circle. Now if I hit Q and select my shape, using the eyedropper next to the fill, I can change the color of the selected shape. See? I'm gonna release it on the color of the face. But the problem is, this color is not the actual color of her face because we decreased the opacity of this image. So to avoid this problem, I usually duplicate my reference by selecting it and clicking on duplicate. And let me move this new reference to the left and set its opacity to something like 100. So now we use this reference to pick our colors, and we use this one to draw the shapes of our character. So let me call this one color reference. I'm gonna press enter. Then I click on this layer and click on it again and type draw reference. I'm gonna press enter. Now if I select this layer, layer 1, and hit Q to select the select shape tool and select my shape, I can pick a color from here, for example. And if I turn off the draw reference layer and deselect this shape by clicking outside of it, you can see that this is the exact color of her face. Let me turn on my reference. And after setting up your reference, you can start drawing. I'm gonna hit the T key, and since all of the points of this shape are selected, I'm gonna hit the delete key to delete this shape. The next thing you should know is that it's better to start your drawing from the shapes that are at the back of the character. Since we have the hair at the back of this character, I'm gonna call this layer back hair and press enter. And then I'm gonna draw the hair. You can use any method that you want. I'm gonna hit the S key. To begin, I'm gonna start with a circle. Then I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in. Next, I'm gonna hit the T key, hold on the right click and drag to pan so I can have a better view. Then I'm gonna hold on the control and click outside of this shape to deselect all of the points so I can then select them and move them individually. I think it's better to put a point here, another here, because we see the direction of the hair changes, as you can see here and here. So I'm gonna just put some points where the direction is changing. I'm gonna hold on the right click and pan again, put this point here, another here. Again I pan using the right click, then I hit the A key to select the add point tool. It's better to add a point here, another one here. We need a point here, another one here, maybe another one here. Then I'm gonna hit the C key and pan again and fix this sides. Just play with the handles. And again from here. Here, as you can see, this point is smooth. To make it sharp, you have to move the handles of this point individually. So I'm gonna hold on the Alt key and drag like this to move them individually. Let's do the same thing with the other point. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, maybe adjust its position a little bit. And I'm gonna move this point to here. Again, I'm gonna hit the C key and move this point to here. Let's take a look at up here. Okay, this one needs some changes. And again here. Now that I'm happy with the shape, I'm gonna design this part and the other one. So I'm gonna zoom in, hit the A key, start dragging. Then I'm gonna hit the U key, hold on the control and drag around them and choose create shape. Next I'm gonna hit the T key and move this point to here and here. And then I'm gonna hit the C key, drag to the right. Again, I'm gonna hit the T key, scroll up to zoom in and put these points closer to this one. You have to make sure this option is not checked, because if you check it, it's gonna connect these 3 points to each other and we don't want that. I'm gonna hit the C key, maybe adjust its angle, zoom out. Also, I think it's better to delete this point, so I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the control and drag, and then delete. Now it looks smoother than before. For this side, I think it's better to move this point a little bit upper. Yes. And then I'm gonna hit the A key and do something like this. Then I'm gonna hit the U key, hold down the control and drag around it and choose create shape. Then I'm gonna hit the T key and move this point to here. Then I'm gonna hit the C key and drag, and then you're free to make these points closer to here. And now it's time to design this part that looks like a ponytail or something. So I'm gonna pan so I can have it at the center of my workspace. Then I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in. Next I'm gonna hit the A key. You have to imagine the part that is at the back of the hair. So let's say we have a point here, and then I'm gonna just drag to draw something like this and close it. It's not gonna close it because this option is not checked. I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z, check auto stroke and autofill, and then auto weld, and then drag from here to here to close my shape. I'm gonna hit the C key, hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere and drag on the left to make it sharp. Let's do the same thing with this point. I'm gonna click on it and choose this option. Now I'm gonna drag on this one to make it a little bit curve, and maybe adjust the angle of this one. Now I'm gonna hit the T key and maybe move this point to here. I think it's pretty similar to our reference. So I'm gonna hit the Q, select this shape, and hit the down arrow key to send it at the back of the hair. Because we have multiple shapes, the hair and these two lines, you have to hit the down arrow key multiple times so you can finally have it at the back of all of the shapes. Or while this shape is selected, you can just go to draw and choose lower to back. So you can have it at the back of all of the shapes, no matter how many shapes you have. I'm gonna hold down the shift key, and since this point is already selected, I'm gonna just click on this one to add this to my selection, and then pick a color from here, my reference. I'm gonna click outside of the shapes to deselect them and turn off my reference. This is what I've designed so far. Let me turn on my reference. Next we have ears, so I'm gonna create a new layer and call it ears and press enter to confirm its name. Then I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in and pan a little bit using right click. Then I'm gonna hit the S key, and then I'm gonna drag to draw my ear. Next I'm gonna hit the T key, rotate it a little bit and move it to somewhere around here. Next I'm gonna hold down the Control, click on somewhere and drag it to somewhere around here. I think now we have the ear. Let me hit Q, select it, pan a little bit and drag and choose a color for it. Next I'm gonna hit the T key, pan again to my own character. Then I'm gonna hit Ctrl A to select all of its points, Ctrl C to copy this shape, and then Ctrl V to paste it. I'm gonna flip this ear horizontally, and because we want to move this new shape horizontally, we have to hold down the shift key while we're moving it so we can move it exactly horizontally. I'm gonna hold down the Control and click outside of this shape to deselect it. Then I'm gonna hit the C key and maybe change some of the angles like this. Next I'm gonna draw the face, so I'm gonna create a new layer. Let's call it face. I'm gonna press enter to confirm its name, and I'm gonna scroll down a little bit to zoom out, and then I'm gonna pan using right click to have the face of my character at the center of my workspace. Next I'm gonna hit the S key, and we know that we should imagine the part of the face that are at the back of the hair, the front hair. So this is actually the line of the face until we reach the front hair here. After that, this would be the line of the hair and not the line of the face. So from this point, the line of the face goes at the back of the hair, and I can imagine that it goes from here to here. So to draw it, I'm just gonna draw a circle like this. Next, I'm gonna hit the T key, move it a little bit lower than this. The face of this character, or the eyes or everything, are not symmetrical. You might think designing symmetrical is better, but sometimes adding some variation to your character make it look more natural. As here you can see that the left eye is bigger than the right eye. So I'm gonna hold down the Control and click outside of this shape. We need a point here and another here. Let me move this point up here. Next, I'm gonna hit the C key and drag on here to make it more circular. Then I'm gonna change this angle like this. And I'm gonna do the same thing with the other side. And to make it look better, maybe we need more points, like adding 2 points at the top. I'm gonna hit the C key and maybe change the angle of it like this. Next, I'm gonna hit the C key, hold down the control, click outside of this shape to deselect all of the points. And for these types of cases, you just have to turn off your reference so you can check that if the face looks good or not. I think it's good, so I'm gonna turn on my reference and create a new layer. Let's call it front hair. I'm gonna press enter to confirm its name. Then I'm gonna hit the A key and start drawing from here to here. And maybe we have something like that until here and then here. Next, I'm gonna hit the C key, hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect its points. Then I'm gonna select this point by clicking on it and choose peak to make it sharp. Then I'm gonna make it curve a little bit. After that, I'm gonna hold down the control, select this point, hold down the control and shift and select the other one to add this to your selection. Then I'm gonna choose peak. Let me hit the T key, hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect these points. Then I'm gonna drag on this point to here and move this one to here and maybe move this one to here. Next, I'm gonna hit the C key, drag a little bit on this point so you can see its handles. Then I'm gonna hold down the Alt and drag like this. I'm gonna do the same thing with this one and this one. And maybe by holding down the Alt, it's better to just adjust its points like this. Next, I'm gonna hit Q, select my shape. And now I prefer to pick my colors from my own drawing and click outside of my shape to deselect it. We want these strokes, but we don't want these ones. To hide them, I'm gonna hit the Edge key to select the Hide Edge tool, and I'm just gonna click on here, here, and here to hide them. If we scroll up, you can see that the hair is still covering a part of the ear. So we can hit the T key and move them a little bit upper than this, like this. So we can make sure that they're not gonna cover a part of the ears. Let me take a look at our reference. See, it looks good. Now I want to create a new layer. Let's call it mouth and press enter to confirm its name. Then I'm gonna pan a little bit using right click to have the mouth at the center of my workspace. Then I'm gonna hit the S key and drag to draw the mouth. Now I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect all of its points. Move this point to here. I'm using shift to move my point vertically. Then I'm gonna hold down the control and select these two. Hold down the shift key again and drag them to up here. Next, I'm gonna hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect them. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, decrease this curvature and add some curvature by holding down the control and select this point and holding down the control and shift and add this point to our selection and dragging to the right. I'm gonna hold down the control and click outside of the shape to deselect its points and drag on this point to the right to increase its curvature and maybe decrease this one more. And this should be our mouth. I'm gonna hit Q, select the mouth, and using right click, I'm gonna pan to left and pick a color for it. Then I'm gonna hit the S key, and because these three look like a rectangle, we can choose a rectangle to draw. I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in, then I'm gonna draw the first one. After that, I'm gonna hit Q, select it. We don't want a stroke for it, so we just remove this check. After that, I scroll down to zoom out and pick a color for its fill. Again, I zoom in, hit the T key, adjust its position a little bit. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, drag to the right to add some curvature to its points. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, and using this handle and Alt, I'm gonna change its size. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, maybe make it more curve. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, Control C and V to make a copy of it. Let's move this one to here. And I'm gonna zoom in and more. Then I'm gonna rotate it a little bit like this. Let's pan to left using right click. I'm gonna hold down the Control and press C and V to make a copy of it and move it to here. And adjust its angle a little bit. After that, I'm gonna press the home key to reset my view and zoom in a little bit and then pan. And if you look here now, this is the style of these three shapes. If I hit Q and select this one, now our style is the style of our mouth, white fill and black stroke. From now on, if we draw a shape, it will draw that shape using this style. I'm gonna use this style to draw my eyes. So I just create a new layer and let's call it eyes. Then I'm gonna hit the S key to select the draw shape tool, and then it's better to select circle, and you should start dragging from the center of this circle, and using Alt and Shift you can draw your circle. Next I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the Control and click outside of it. Let me zoom in a little bit and adjust its points, because it's not actually complete circle, it's just something similar to it. Okay, I like this shape. Now I'm gonna hit the S key and start dragging from the center of this circle. Using Alt key, you can draw from the center, and using Shift, you can make sure it's actually a circle. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, move it to the right. I'm gonna hold down the Control and click outside of this shape to deselect all of its points. Then I'm gonna move these points to here and here. After that, I'm gonna hit the S key again. I don't want a stroke for this one. And let me choose a black color for it and draw this one. I'm gonna hold down the Alt key to draw it from the center and Shift key. Let me hit the T key and move it a little bit lower than this. Then I'm gonna hold down the Control and press C and then V to make a copy of it. Move our copy to the left. I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in a little bit and move this point to here. Something like this. Let me take a look at this one. Yeah, maybe we should move it to the right. Next, I'm gonna hit the A key. We want to draw some lines, so we don't want to add any point or connect any point to our path. So we just remove this check and start drawing. I'm gonna just draw one of them. Then I hit the U key, hold on the Control and select all of its points and click on Create Shape. Next, I'm gonna hit W to select the Line Width tool. But since the size of our brush is too big, I'm gonna zoom out by scrolling down. Then I'm gonna hold down the Alt key and drag to the left to decrease the size of my brush. After that, I scroll up to zoom in. Maybe it's better to hold down the Alt and decrease it more. Now that I'm happy with the size of my brush, I just hold my mouse on a point and drag it to the left to decrease the size of it, like this. After that, I'm gonna hit the C key and drag on it to make it more curved. Then I'm gonna hit the T key. Maybe it's better to move this point to here. I'm gonna click in the middle of this shape to select all of its points. Then I'm gonna hold down the Control and press C and then V to make a copy of it and move its points to here. I'm gonna hold down the Shift key, click on this shape to add its points to my selected points. Then I'm gonna hit Control C and V to make a copy of them, flip them using this option, pan to left using the right click, and I'm gonna drag them to the left and put them here. They are okay, but we want to have them at the back of the eyes. So I'm gonna hit Q, select this one, go to draw, choose lower to back, do the same thing with this one and the other 2. Now I'm gonna scroll down a little bit to zoom out and pan so I can have the nose at the center of my workspace. Then I'm gonna create a new layer and call it nose. And press enter. Then I'm gonna hit the S key. I want to have a stroke for this one as well as fill. So I check auto stroke. And let me turn off my reference and pick a color from the face. So I can draw the nose with the color of my face. And after that, I just drag like this and hit the T key and move it to here. I'm gonna hold down the control and click outside of this shape and adjust its points. We don't need this one, so I'm gonna hold down the control and delete it. Then I'm gonna hit the edge key to select the hide edge tool and hide this edge by clicking on it. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, hold down the Alt, and maybe you want to move these control points to here so they will be more close to the area of the nose. I'm gonna turn off my reference and hit Ctrl R to render the project. And as you can see, we've drawn most parts of the head. I can see that we have 2 pink circles here, and also her eyebrows. So I'm gonna close this layer, go to eyes. Using right click, I'm gonna pan to up here, and then I'm gonna turn on my reference, hit the A key, drag from here to here. And the reason that I'm using 3 points is that the width of the eyebrows is changing through their path. As you can see here and here, at the start and end of them, they have less width. So I'm gonna hit the U key, hold down the control and select this one. Then I'm gonna choose create shape. After that, I'm gonna hit W and drag from here and here. Then I'm gonna hit the C key and make it more curve. After that, I'm gonna hit the T key, click on this shape to select it, hit Ctrl C to make a copy of it and Ctrl V to paste it, flip it and move it to the left. I'm gonna scroll up to zoom in and change the angle of it a little bit and put this on here. And maybe you want to just change the position of the points a little bit, and then I zoom out. Let's draw some red circles on her face. I'm gonna click on here, face, then I'm gonna hit the S key and draw a circle. But since this one doesn't have a stroke, I just have to uncheck this option and then draw it. After that, I'm gonna hit Q, select it, pan to the left, pick a color from here. Let me take a look at it. I'm gonna hit the T key, scroll up to zoom in, and maybe drag a little bit and put this on here. Next, I'm gonna hit Ctrl C and V to make a copy of it. Put another one here. And maybe adjust its points a little bit. And then I'm gonna zoom out and turn off my reference and hit Ctrl R. Next, I wanna draw her body. So I'm gonna close this one. I should draw it between ears and back hair. So to create a layer between these 2 layers, I just have to select the lower one and then create a new vector layer. Let's call it body and press enter. And as you can see, we can consider this rainbow as the texture of her sweater. And you know that to add texture to something, we have to mask it. So I'm gonna right click on here and group it. Let's call this sweater. Then I'm gonna press the enter to confirm its name. So then after adding the rainbow, we can mask this group. So first let's draw the body. I'm gonna select it and turn on my reference. I can imagine a sweater like this. It goes from here to here and then here. Let's call it body. Then we have a rainbow on it. And then we have a neck on it, and then we have a collar on it, and maybe then we have the lines of the collar on it. So first I'm gonna draw the body. I'm gonna hit the S key, then I draw a circle, hit Q, select it. Maybe it's better to choose a color from here. After that, I'm gonna hit the T key, zoom in a little bit and pan to have the sweater at the center of my workspace. Then I'm gonna hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect these points. Then I'm gonna put a point on here, another on here. Maybe it's better to hit the A key and add another point here. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, put a point here, A key, add a point here. Then I'm gonna hit the T key again and move this one to here. Again, I'm gonna hit the A key and add another point here. Then I'm gonna hit the T key and adjust the position of these points. Again, I'm gonna hit the C key and change these angles like this. I'm gonna hit the T key again, C key, and just play with the handles. I'm gonna scroll up a little bit so I can see the lines better. For here and here, it's better to hit the A key and just click on here to add a point. But as you can see, it will ruin our path. To add a point without ruining the path, I'm gonna hit Ctrl Z and check this option. Now you can freely add a point wherever you want, and it will fix the handles of other points as they are. See? I'm gonna hit the T key and move this one to here. Maybe change the angle of this one a little bit. And I think that's good. I'm gonna scroll down, and I'm not sure, maybe we should delete this point. But yeah, I think without it, we don't have any problem. Now it's time to draw the rainbow. To draw it, I'm gonna create a new layer. Let's call it rainbow and press enter. Then I'm gonna right click on this group and choose mask inside bottom layer. And as you can see, if I turn off my reference, my body doesn't have any stroke. I can select the body, hit Q, select it, and add a stroke to it. And then I select rainbow and turn on my reference. Then I hit the S key and pan to the left, choose the color of the star. Then I pan to the right. And it's better to start with the star, so I select it and zoom in and drag to draw it. Then I'm gonna hit the C key and then drag to the right to make these points curve. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the Control and click outside of it. And maybe adjust these points like this. And it's better to just change them more to make them look more curved. After that, I hit the S key and select the rectangle. And by holding down the right click, I pan to the left and pick a color from here. Again, I pan to the right and drag to draw my rectangle. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the Control and click outside of my shape to deselect all of its points. Then I'm gonna just move the points to here and here. And after that, I hit the A key and add some curve points to here. Maybe it's better to hit the T key and move this point to here. Yeah. After that, I select this shape, hit Ctrl C to copy it and Ctrl V to paste it and move it to here. Maybe it's better to rotate it a little bit like this. I'm gonna hit Q, select it and pick a color from here. Next, I'm gonna hit the T key, Ctrl C and V to make a copy of it and move it to here, rotate it a little bit. And then I'm gonna adjust its position. That's it. Next, I'm gonna hit Q. And because this shape is selected, I just have to pick a color from here. So we have to send them at the back of this star. I'm gonna select this one, press down arrow key. Now I have it at the back of this star. Let's do the same thing with this one. And again, I'm gonna press down arrow key to have it at the back of this one. and select this one and press down arrow key to have it at the back of all of the shapes. I'm gonna click outside of them to deselect them, and there is a problem with the stroke of our body. We can't see this part. To keep the strokes around your shape while you're applying the mask, you can just double click on the body layer, go to masking and check exclude strokes, and then I'm gonna choose OK. And now we have the stroke. I'm gonna drag to up here, and if I turn off my body, you can see that we should hide this part and the other one. So let me turn it on and hit the H key and click on here and here. But before that, maybe it's better to hit the A key and add a point here and here. So it will only hide this part, not the whole line. I'm gonna hit the H key and select this one and that one to hide them. Now it's time to draw the neck, so I'm gonna select rainbow. So my new layer will be at the top of rainbow layer. I go here and choose vector. Let's call this one neck. I'm gonna press enter. The only reason that we put the neck inside the sweater layer is that we want the neck to be between the body and the collar, but we don't want to mask it. So we just right click on it and choose don't mask this layer. Now I'm gonna hit the S key and draw a rectangle like this for it. Then I'm gonna hit the A key, add a point here and drag it to somewhere around here. I'm gonna hit the C key and make it curve. So now it's like half of a circle. Let's do the same thing with the other side. I'm gonna hit the C key and drag it to the right and maybe correct this angle and hit the T key and move it to here. And maybe a little bit upper than this. Now we can hit Q, select this shape, turn off the reference layer and choose a color from the face of our character. Let me turn on the reference layer, hit the T key, and maybe it's better to hold down the control and select all of these 3 points and move them by holding down the shift. I'm moving them vertically. Let's do the same thing with the other part and make them closer to where actually the neck is. Again, I'm gonna hit Q, select it and add a stroke to it. Now we can draw the color. So I go here and choose vector and let me call this color. I press enter to confirm its name. Then I'm gonna turn off my reference, pick a color from sweater and turn on my reference. After that I hit the S key, choose the circle and auto stroke because I want to have stroke as well as fill, and then I draw a shape. Then I hit the A key, add a point here. It's better to turn this off so the other handles don't move. And I'm gonna just continue to add some points. Then I'm gonna hit the T key. Again, I'm gonna hit the C key and correct this curvature. Move this one to here and this one to here. I'm gonna hit the C key, select this one and change this curvature like this. Then I'm gonna hit the T key and move it to here. Now that I'm happy with it, let's take a look at our reference. Our reference doesn't have a stroke here and here. We simply can hit the A key, and because we don't want to change this path, we just check this option and add a point here. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, turn off this option and move this to here. After that I'm gonna turn on my color and hit the H key and hide these edges. Then I'm gonna hit W, and maybe it's better to just make their width a little bit less than before. And then I'm gonna hit the T key and maybe it's better to just move it outside of the body. And I'm gonna right click on color and choose clear the mask, then add this layer to it. Because when we have a mask, it reads your layers from the bottom to the top. So first it's gonna consider the area of the shapes of this layer and draws the shapes of this layer and the shapes of the layers with the mask icon inside that area. And after that, when you clear the mask and add a layer to it like this one, it just ignores the previous areas and then considers the area of the shapes of this layer and then draws the shapes of this layer and the shapes of the layers at the top of it that have a mask icon like this one inside that area. So now I just need to create a new layer, and as you can see by default Moho has masked this layer. So we just click on it and type lines and press enter. Then I'm gonna hit the A key and start to draw from here to here, again from here to here, and another one from here to here. I'm gonna hit the T key, move this one a little bit. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, drag on these points to make them curve. After that, I'm gonna hit the U key, hold down the control and select these ones, select create shape. Then I'm gonna hold down the control again, select these ones, choose create shape, and do the same thing with the other one. Then I'm gonna hit the Q, select all of them. Maybe it's better to reduce the width of them, so I'm gonna type something like 2 or maybe 3 for the width of them, and click outside of them to deselect them. And you know that the color of these lines are black, but just in case, I'm gonna double click on color, go to masking and enable exclude strokes and choose OK to keep the strokes of this layer around it. Now I'm gonna scroll up and turn off the reference and press Ctrl R to render. This is what we've designed so far. It's time to design the skirt. So I'm gonna close this window, scroll down to zoom out, pan a little bit, and turn on my reference. Hit the S key. I'm gonna start with a rectangle and choose a color from my reference. We should draw it at the back of the sweater, so I'm gonna minimize this group, click on back here, and create a new vector layer. Click on it and type skirt for it, and press enter to confirm its name. Then I'm gonna hit the S key again and draw a rectangle like this. I'm gonna zoom in, hit the T key, hold down the control and click outside of it. Move this point to here and this one to here. Then I'm gonna hit the A key, move this one to here, hit the C key and drag it to the right to make it curve. I'm gonna hold down the right click and pan to up here and scroll down a little bit so I can have the whole arms in my view. You can draw the arms on the skirt or at the back of it, it's completely up to you. I want to draw them at the back of the skirt, so I click on here and create a new layer. Let's call it right arm and press enter. In my projects, I usually consider this side as the right side and this side as the left side. It's just something that you choose for your own self. You might consider the right side of your character or the right side of your own. I always prefer to choose the right side of my own. So I call this one the right hand and the right arm, and this one should be the left arm. So I'm gonna hit the S key and draw this one in right arm layer. Now I'm gonna draw a rectangle like this. Then I'm gonna hit Q, select it, and then I'm gonna turn off my reference and pick a color from the sweater. Let me turn my reference on. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the control, click outside of this shape to deselect all of its points. Then I'm gonna move this point to here, the other one to here. I might need a point here and another one here. I'm gonna hit the A key and add some points to here and here, and then add some points to here and then here. Then I'm gonna hit the T key and move this point to here and adjust their positions. I'm gonna hit the C. Again, I'm gonna hit the A key and add something like this. After that, I hit the T key and move it to somewhere around here. Then I hit the C key and make it curve a little bit, something like this. This one as well. T key again. I'm gonna hit the C key, zoom in a little bit, and adjust its curvature like this. And this. I'm gonna hit the T key, move this to here, C key, adjust the position of them a little bit. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, maybe it's better to move this one to here. Then I'm gonna hit the A key and add some curvature to here. Again, I'm gonna hit the T key and move these points to there. And C key, adjust it a little bit, T key again, and move this point to here. Now that I'm happy with the shape, I can just hit the edge key, turn off my sweater, and hide this edge, turn it on again, zoom out, hold your mouse on the fingers and zoom in by scrolling up. Then I'm gonna hit the S key again, draw a rectangle, hit the T key, hold down the control and remove one of its points. Select it, move it to the right. Then I'm gonna hold down the control and click outside of this shape to deselect all of its points. Hit the C key and make it a little bit curve like this. Then I'm gonna hit Q, select it, turn off my reference, scroll down to zoom out, pan by holding down the right click, pick the skin color, turn on the reference and zoom in. And pan a little bit. I'm gonna hit the T key, select this finger, Control C and V to make a copy of it, put this here, hold down the control and click on somewhere, move this point to here. I'm gonna hit the A key and add some curvature to there, zoom in, hit the T key, move this point to here, C key again, and maybe by holding down the Alt, we could just do something like this. Then I'm gonna hit Q, select this shape, hit the down arrow key 2 times to send it at the back of the arm. I'm gonna hit the T key, click in the middle of it to select it, Control C and V to make a copy of it, flip it, and move it to here. I'm gonna hold down the control and click on somewhere, move this one to here, and that's it. Let me hit Q, select this one, go to draw, choose lower to back, and do the same thing with the other one. I'm gonna click outside of this shape to deselect it and scroll down to zoom out. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hit Control A to select this arm, and then Control C to make a copy of it. Then I go here, create a new layer, click on it, let's call it left arm, press enter to confirm its name. After that, I'm gonna press Control V to paste it, flip it, and move it to the left side, somewhere around here. I'm gonna hold on the Shift key so I can make sure that I'm moving this arm horizontally. Then I'm gonna zoom in a little bit, and maybe it's better to just hold down the control and click outside of it and adjust its points a little bit so it would be similar to our reference. I'm gonna hold down the control, select all of these and move them to here. And then I scroll down. Let's take a look at it. Perfect. Let me turn off the reference and press Ctrl R. This is what we've designed so far, and it's time to draw the legs. So I'm gonna close this and turn on my reference. After that, I hold down the right click and drag to have the foot at the center of my workspace, and I scroll up to zoom in. We have them at the back of the skirt and maybe at the back of the hands. So I'm gonna scroll down, choose back hair, and create a new layer. Let's click on it and call it leg. Then I'm going to press enter and hit the S key. Then I'm going to draw it. After that, I'm going to hit the T key, zoom in a little bit, hold down the control and click outside of it to deselect all of the points and adjust them manually. After that, I'm going to hit the A key and add some curves to here and here. Then I'm going to hit the C key and drag on them to make them curve. Then I'm going to hit the T key. Maybe it's better to move this one to here and the other one to here. After that, I'm going to hit the A key and add a point here. We want to create half of a circle, so I'm going to hit the C key and drag. Again, let's do the same thing for the other side. I'm going to hit the T key and move it to here. Again, C key. It should be good. And because she has some socks, we can consider them as textures and create them using the mask. So I'm going to right click on this layer and group it and call it left leg. And press enter to confirm the name. After that, I'm going to scroll down, select this layer because I want to create a new layer at the top of it. And then I go here and choose vector. Let's call this one sock. Then I press the enter, right click on here and mask this layer. After that, I choose sock, hit the S key and draw something like this. To keep the stroke of the leg around it, I'm going to go to layer settings of leg by double clicking on it. Then I go to masking and choose exclude strokes and choose OK. Next I go back to sock, hit the T key, hold down the control and click outside of this shape and adjust its points. Then I hit the A key and add a curve like this, hit the C key, make it more curve, hit the T key, and maybe it's better to move all of them closer to the actual shape like this. If you keep your points closer, then after applying some effects like adding shadows, the shape of your shadows will match with your shape, and it's a good thing. So keep that in mind. Next, I'm going to create a new layer. Let's call this one shoe. And press enter. I want to add this one to the area of my mask. So I right click on it and choose add to mask. And because we're drawing it at the top of the sock, we can be sure that the shoe will be at the top of the sock. So now using the right click, I'm going to pan a little bit so I can have the shoe at the center of my workspace. Then I'm going to hit the S key. We don't want a stroke for it. And we want to draw it using a black color. I'm going to choose circle. And then I draw it. Then I hit the T key and rotate it a little bit and put it on here. Then I'm going to hold down the control and click on somewhere and move this point to here. And change its position. I'm going to hit the A key, add another point here. Then I'm going to hit the Q and select it. Instead of black, I choose the color of the skin, but no problem. We can choose black and hit the T key and adjust the points again a little bit. And now that we have everything, it's time to add this white texture on the shoe. So I'm going to create a new layer. Let's call it texture. And press enter to confirm its name. Then I hit the S key. We don't want a stroke for it, but its color is similar to the color of our sock. So I'm going to move this up and turn off my reference. Then using this tool, I can simply select my sock, hit Q, select it, scroll down to zoom out, and using right click, I'm going to pan and pick a color from here. Now let's go to texture. And now we can draw with the same color. So I'm gonna move this up and turn on my reference and start to draw this texture. So I drag, then I hit the T key and move this to here. Then I hit the C key, adjust its point. Then I hit the C key Using Alt, I can move one handle individually. And then I'm gonna zoom in and just leave a part of the shape. And after that, I'm just gonna hold down the Alt key and do something like this. Let me hit the T key again. And it's better to move this to here. Now I'm gonna scroll down to zoom out and pan a little bit and turn off my reference and press Ctrl R to draw the other leg. We just have to make a copy of it. So I'm gonna close this window, select the left leg, copy it. Let's call it right leg and press enter. After that, I choose texture, hit the T key, and maybe it's better to start with the leg. So I'm gonna hit Ctrl A to select all of its points, and then let me turn on my reference and I scroll up to zoom in, drag a little bit, flip it, move it to the right, like this. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit and drag. Let's move the sock. I'm gonna hit Ctrl A and flip it and move it to here. Then it's time to move the shoe. I'm gonna hit Ctrl A and flip it and move it to the right. I'm gonna hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere. It's better to change the position of some points. Like this. Then it's time to select the texture. Hit Ctrl A, scroll down to zoom out, flip it, and move it to here. I'm using the Shift to move it horizontally. Then I zoom in, hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere. Maybe it's better to move this point to here, and move this one to there, and this one to here. Then I press the Home key on my keyboard and move this to up here. Turn off both of my references and press Ctrl R, and this is my character. That's it, guys, we designed it. I just want you to know that this black line around the front here is not real, and it's just a bug of your workspace. You can just click on here and turn off your GPU acceleration and have everything with a high quality. And if you want to turn off the path, you can click on here, so you can hide all of the paths and look at your character without these annoying paths. I'm gonna press Home key on my keyboard and then Ctrl R. And now it's time to talk about applying effects. To apply shadows to your character, you first check Advanced, then go to here and choose New. Let's call it Shading and press Enter to confirm its name. Now we created a style called Shading. You can apply this style to the shapes that you want, and then when you change the settings of this style, the settings of those shapes will be changed. So first let me apply a shaded effect to it and choose OK. Now to apply that style to the shapes, I go to here, Layer Selector. This tool helps you to select your layer without looking for it in Layers window. So for example, if I want to select the layer of the face, using this tool, I just click on the face and then the layer of the face will be selected. Then to apply the shading style, I just hit Q, select the face, and from here, choose shading. Let's take a look at our face and zoom in a little bit and then go to here and choose shading. As you can see, now the color of our style is white, but we don't want to apply this color to our shapes. We only want to apply the effects of it. Also, we don't want to apply the color of the stroke or the width of the stroke, because different shapes might have different fill and different stroke. So I'm gonna uncheck these three options and it will be fixed. Now only the shadow will be applied. So I can choose Layer Selector and select this layer, for example. Then I hit Q, select it, choose shading style for it. Let's choose Layer Selector and choose this layer. Then I hit Q, select both of them and apply the shading style to them. Next I choose the neck, hit Q, select it and apply the style to it. Let's do the same thing with the collar I'm gonna hit Q, select it, and choose shading. Let's do this with the sweater. I'm gonna hit Q, select it, and choose the style for it. I'm gonna pan down and choose layer selector, choose my skirt, hit Q, select it, and choose shading style for it. Let's do the same thing with the right hand. I'm gonna hit Q, select it, and choose shading. And let's select the left arm and apply shading style to it. I'm gonna choose layer selector again, choose right leg, hit Q, select it, and choose shading style, and do the same thing with the left leg. I'm gonna click outside of this shape to deselect it, hit the home key on my keyboard to reset my view. Next, from here, I choose my style and go to settings of my shaded effect. Let me move this window to the right. And from here, we can change the settings of our shadows. For example, I'm gonna type 0 for this one to have a harder shadow, and decrease the offset, and maybe change the opacity of my shadow to something like 40 and choose OK. And now using this one, you can change the angle of your shadows. See? And this way you can apply shadow to your shapes. To give you another example, I'm going to show you how I design Dipper. So I'm going to start with the layer on top. We have cap. It's actually only the front of the cap, because you should have another layer for the back of it at the back of the face. And inside this layer, from the bottom, we have a layer called top, which is the top of the cap. Then we have the body of the cap. I'm gonna zoom in so you can see it better. It's actually the main part of it with this tree. And after the body, we have the front of the cap here. And then we have a layer called left blue. This one is actually shaped like this that we masked for the body layer. So we can only see the part of it that is inside the shapes of the body layer. And as you can see for the top layer, we set it to don't mask this layer because we want to draw it outside of the main layer. And then we set this one to add to mask. So we can then set this one to mask this layer and draw it inside the shapes of the body layer. And again for the front layer, we set it to don't mask this layer because we don't want to draw it inside the main part of the cap. Next, we have the nose. It's actually a simple circle, as you can see. You just have to hide this edge and this edge using hide edge tool. Then we have the eyes. They're just 4 circles and nothing else. Then we have the mouth, which is actually a group, and I used mask. Here I have the main part of the mouth. It's actually a simple shape, as you can see. I'm going to hold down the control and click outside of it so you can see its points. It just has 4 points. And here I have a white shape for the tooth and another shape for the tongue. I set this one to add to mask and set this one to mask this layer. So the shapes of this layer will be forced to be drawn inside the shapes of this layer. Then we have the hair. I'm gonna zoom out and turn the mouse off. This is the hair. Then we have the face. Let me select it so you can see it better. It's actually shaped like this. I added a line like this, and using line width tool, I changed the width of it to increase the width of this point and decrease the width of these 2 points. And we have another line here for the eyebrow. And again, I used line width tool to change the width of this line. Next, we have a layer called t-shirt patch. I'm not gonna talk about it because it's related to rigging and not drawing. Next, we have a layer called left hand. Let me zoom out so you can see it better. It's actually 2 shapes. We have one shape on top like this. Let me click on it so you can see its points better. Then we have another shape here for the lower part of the arm. And let me turn off this layer. Next we have a layer called jacket, and I separate it into 2 layers. This is the left jacket and this is the right jacket. Then we have the back of the cap. As you can see here, it's just a simple shape with 4 points. Let me turn it off. Next we have the back of the hair, and then again we have a patch layer. It's for the rigging, so let me turn it off. And then we have the body. It's actually a group of layers. Let me scroll down. We have the t-shirt, see? And we have the body. Although I set it to add to mask, I set this one to don't mask this layer. And it means that I didn't mask anything. Since I designed this character a while ago, I think I just masked this group just to test the mask. Let me turn it off. Next we have 2 patch layers. They're for rigging. Then we have a layer called left shoe. Let me scroll down and pan. Inside this group, we have a layer called left shoe, which is going to be this layer. Then on a layer called extra, we have the lines and the white shape like this as the texture. And then we have a layer called left leg. Let me choose the left leg. In this layer we have 2 shapes. Let me hit the T key. We have a shape up here and we have another shape down here. I can move them so you can see them better. See? And in a layer called extra, I have a shape and a line as the texture. See? I used the same techniques to create the right shoe and right leg, as you can see. Then we have the hip of the character here. It's actually a simple shape. Next we have the right hand. So let me turn off the rest of the layers. It's actually the same as the left hand, but rather than this shape and this one, we also have a new shape. And as you can see, it's actually a shape and not a line, in case you want to rotate this hand. And then we have a shadow at the bottom. It's just a simple circle, as you can see. Let me hit Q. I just decreased the alpha value to make it transparent. I think now you got the idea of how you can create a character. In this example, I'm gonna show you how you can apply the gradient effect, so you can have this cool transition between the yellow color and the orange. For some parts such as eyebrows, that you have a simple gradient like this, you can apply it using a gradient effect. So you just have to go to its layer and then you hit Q, select that layer and apply a gradient effect. Select the color in the middle, delete it, choose this one, drag on the eyedropper and release it on the stroke of your character. I'm gonna do the same thing with the other one. Next I'm gonna click on here and set its alpha value to 0 and choose OK. And then I click on OK again and click outside of this shape to deselect it. And then using this point, you can move your gradient. Using this one, you can change the angle of it or the length of it. See? For this one, we can hold down the control and click on this shape to pick its effect. And now if I deselect it, you can see that now we have that gradient effect. For more complex transitions, like this transition between yellow and red, you can do a lot of things. First, I'm going to show you the simple one. In this way, you just have to select your layer, hit Q, and select your shape. Next, you go to gradient. Let me zoom in and set this to radial, because you want to apply the gradient effect as a circle. Next, I'm going to choose this one, the black one, drag on my eyedropper and pick a red color and then choose OK. This way, you can apply an effect like this for your character. A more complex way is that you just have to let me first disable this effect. You just have to create a new layer. Let me call it colors and press enter. Then I hold down the control and select both of them. Right click on them and choose group with selection. Pan a little bit and let's call this group head again and press enter. Then I choose colors, hit the A key. Make sure you check the sharp corners from here and make sure the auto weld option is checked. And then I'm gonna uncheck autofill and auto stroke. Next I'm gonna draw around my shape like this. Just go with the way that it goes. I'm gonna hit the T key, move this one to here, move this one to here. Again, I'm gonna hit the A key, connect this one to here, and this one to there. And then I drag from here to here. Note that you shouldn't use triangle. As you can see, all of these ones have 4 points. Again, I'm gonna connect this one to there. And then I drag from here to there and from here to there. Next I'm gonna hit the T key, move this point to here. Again from here to there. Then I'm gonna hit the C key, hit Ctrl A to select all of the points and click on here to make all of them sharp. Then I'm gonna hit the T key, hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere to deselect my points. And as you can see, most of the bright colors are here. Since I want to use the points to draw my colors, I need another line here. So I'm gonna hit the A key, click on here to put a point. Then I'm gonna drag from here to here, here to here, and continue this line to there. Next I'm gonna hit the T key, move this point to here, because this is where actually most of the points are gonna be bright. Then make sure all of them have 4 edges and not 3 or 5. And make sure all of these points are sharp and not curved. Also make sure all of them are connected to each other. Then you should just go to script, draw, and fill quad mesh. And Moho automatically fill all of them. And I'm just gonna right click on my group and choose mask inside bottom layer to mask that shape inside my head. Next I'm gonna choose its layer and select this tool, color points. Then by hitting Ctrl A, I select all of its points and choose a color look like the stroke of the head and release my click. I'm gonna hold down the Ctrl and click on somewhere to deselect my points. Next I'm gonna hold down the Ctrl and select all of these points and choose a yellow color for them. Maybe something like this one. And now a cool thing is that if you hit the T key, I'm gonna hold on the Ctrl and click on somewhere to deselect its points. As you can see, you can move these colors like this, see? And this way you can exactly tell Moho where you want to be brighter and where you want to be darker. Another cool thing is that you can hit the A key and add point wherever you want, like this. And then using this tool, the color of them is orange, so we can select this point and we left them to be orange, so we can then make this one brighter like this. And then you can use this technique for every part of your character to apply these cool transitions between colors. And that's it guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. Would you like to see more tutorials like this? Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and see you in the next one.